The Nike Move to Zero initiative is gathering pace. We've had Vapor Max 2020s, we've had Space Hippies, and now today we've got a massive pack, 6 different sneakers, 5 different colorways, a bunch of different stories, all leading back to the same place, Nike Move to Zero, this whole move in the sneaker culture to get towards sustainable sneakers, you know, small carbon footprints, recyclable materials, retrieving stuff from the ocean, all that kind of stuff. And it's a move that's gradually over the last couple of months really gathered pace. Sorry Nike, but Adidas are still ahead of the game in this particular department, and you don't need me to tell you that. You've already watched my videos about these guys right here, the Futurecraft 100% recyclable shoe. And once you've bought them, you never need to buy another pair of shoes again, and that just recycles and recycles and recycles with a 0 carbon footprint basically. But you know, Nike are trying to catch up. They're trying to get there. They've got some really cool initiatives to do with uppers, to do with midsole, to do with rubbers, to do with foams, to do with canvas, and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to take a look at that in these 6 shoes today, and then we'll decide which one of the 6 is my top choice for the best one to go to. So without further ado, let's get into this and have a look at the upcoming release of the Nike Recycled Canvas Pack. This is the Tokyo Butter 23 Sneaker Channel. Tokyo Butter 23 Sneaker Channelです。毎日アップするので、毎日見てください。Every single day from Tokyo, Japan, I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news, and sneaker reviews. And today we've got the 6th pack of shoes. Now I'll be honest, these packs, these video packs things, whenever I do them, they don't do very well. I don't get very many views on these kind of videos, but I still do them because I kind of like to look at packs. There was the on-air pack, which is a great pack, which had a Tokyo shoe in it, and then there've been some city packs and stuff like that down the line. Of course, the Dornbeckers and things like that. So I do, you know, toss in a few packs every once in a while. And this one here, you know, it's pretty close to something that I'm very passionate about, which is sustainability and recyclability, and making sure we have the smallest possible footprint on the earth. And it's kind of timely because over in Mauritius right now, you might be watching the news of this oil tanker that's basically split in half and is just gushing oil over some of the most pristine ocean and beach fronts in the entire world. It's a very sad story, but it just reminds us why it's important to have these kind of initiatives and try and take a bit better care of this planet that we live on. So I'm going to get into that today and look at the different shoes and the details on them, stuff like that. But first I want to look at the technology behind them. So it's a recycled canvas pack, and we need to first look at the Carhartts. I don't know if you guys know about these guys here. These are Carhartt. I think they were Chuck Taylor's, Chuck 70s. And this was the first time I saw recycled uppers. We've talked about, you know, recycling rubbers and things like that down below, but actually recycled uppers. These guys here, they retrieved a bunch of clothes, literally just took the clothes and cut them up and then repurposed, I think is the right word, those materials into the uppers on these shoes. And they actually very different. Each shoe is unique because it still has some of the grime on the original materials in there. But what we're looking at today is very, very different. I'll put up one of the close-up shots of the canvas because what we've got going on in here is that they've recycled and retrieved yarn from the waste on Nike products. So, you know, I don't know, you're making a t-shirt and you cut the t-shirt shape out of some fabric and then you have the offcuts around the side. So instead of ditching that, let's take that and try and recycle it. So so that's what they've done, is they've recycled offcuts, they've recycled waste and yarn materials, not leathers really. We'll get into the leathers in a minute, but this is more about the yarns which have then been woven into the canvas. And you can see on here that the canvas has got a very sort of earthy feel to it. The colours on there are not all sort of pastel, like light colours. They've got this earthy kind of grimy almost feel to it, but also there's a second sort of play on the colours, like it's almost like a hidden sheen or hidden sort of like layer of rainbow colours behind those earthy tones because of that recycle effect that's coming from those materials. So not like those Carhartts, it's not just taking a recycled piece of material and plumping it on the top of an upper. It's actually taking that recycled piece of material, deconstructing it into yarn, reconstructing it into canvas, and then using that. So that's the story of the upper on these guys. We'll go to the Cortez first. I should, before anything, I should tell you what shoes there are. I don't think I mentioned this. There's 2 Air Force Ones. There's the green one and there's the grey one. There's 2 Air Maxes, the Air Max 90 celebrating its 30th year this year, and there's the Air Max 95 celebrating its 25th year this year. There's a Daybreak, I think it's the Daybreak Type is to give it its full name, and then there's the Cortez. So the Cortez is the one I want to have a look at first, because they say Apologies, Nike, but they say that the fly leather is recycled leather, which looks like premium leather. Now, I think you might be half right in that. They call it fly leather, and the idea is that they've I think it's something like 50% of the leather is somehow recycled from like reused leather. I don't know how you could take 50% reused leather and not used leather and put them together. I'm not sure how they've done that. Maybe it's to do with layers this way instead of this way. But they say it's a premium effect, and I'm sorry, I disagree. Looking at these Cortezes here and looking at that swoosh on the side, which is made from that fly leather, it looks cheap to me. It doesn't look thick, it doesn't look uniform, it looks like somebody cut it out with scissors, frankly, and so that's not a plus for me, and I know it's supposed to be. And I think I'm right in saying that this fly leather swooshes are on the Cortez and the two Air Force Ones and the Air Max 90s. The 95s don't have a swoosh on the side, they have an embroidered swoosh at the back, and the Daybreaks have a different swoosh that we'll get to in a minute. But staying with that leather there, that fly leather, it's not as premium as I think they're expecting it to be believed to be. And it's not just on the swoosh there, it's also on the back panel as well that you see that fly leather. So it's another place that it's recycling in work. So you've got the upper, then you've got like the layers on top of the upper, the overlays, shall we say. And then if you go down, and the best place to look at this is on the Cortez, where you can see a sort of wedge towards the heel of different material in that midsole there, and I'm pretty sure it's the Daybreak, so maybe we'll go over and look at the Daybreaks now, and you can see the Daybreak midsole on there, and outsole is very much playing with something, and what that's called is grind. I think there's a word for it, and I can't remember what it is, but it's basically what they do again is they take the offcuts or the little bits of rubber that have been cut away from a sole when they've made a sole, and they've repurposed that into the midsole on some shoes. Now, it's very commonly seen on the latest release of the VaporMax 2020 line, where you see a lot of sustainable materials and that grind on the back there. I can't remember for the life of me what it's called, but it's got a special name. But that only appears on the Cortezes in that wedge, and on the Daybreaks, very prominent on both outsole and midsole on those guys. And staying with the Daybreaks, really love the swoosh on the side. I usually don't really like Daybreaks, but the way this sort of swoosh there is outlined in a stitching only without that fly leather on there, and then towards the back you've got that signature feature on the heel and the heel cup there, which incorporates that grind rubber effect going on as well, which I think is pretty cool. So they're two pretty nice looking shoes. There's something about the canvas on the Cortezes, hopefully I'll be able to show you here, that just looks a bit funky to me. It's very uniform, whereas the other ones, they have a little bit more sort of, I don't know, changes up in the color or something to get some contrast, whereas the Cortez has this very uniform sort of effect on it. But that's the three sort of levels to the sneaker as far as recycling goes: the actual material of the upper, the material that's on top of the upper and the overlays, and then the midsole and the outsole on these guys. One of the shoes that I think could have done a little bit better in those terms is the Air Max 90. I think the Air Max 90 is very cool. I like it very much, but there's two features on it that I think could have been different. One is the air unit there, and the classic Air Max 90 air unit, where you've got the air unit visible, but then around it you've got that big kind of, I don't know, wedge effect going on there. I think they could have made that in that grind material, and that would have been very, very cool. And maybe they're saving that for later and they'll come out with something like that. But imagine this right here. You can see how uniform it is and how simple it is, but imagine if that wedge around the air unit was in that kind of off-cut grind recycled material. I think it would have been very cool. And then looking at the heel of these Air Max 90s, this is the criticism I have across the entire sort of pack. I'm not a huge fan of the lime green that they throw in there quite consistently in different places, most notably on the back of these Air Max 90s, but also on the green pair of the Air Force Ones, which are a great looking shoe. But then when you look, for example, down onto the midsole there, where it says is it Air, it says on there, in that sort of lime green effect, it's, I don't know, it just clashes with the rest of the shoe. It's more in that pastel sort of colour scheme that I was talking about before, rather than the earth sort of tones that go for the rest of the kind of, the theme that runs through the whole line. Speaking of the whole line, we might as well go from the green Air Force Ones to the grey Air Force Ones, which are my number 2 pick. I think these are a very nice looking shoe, and there's a lot of great details on it, but it doesn't look like it's been, recycled or anything. It's not got that vibe of being like the Daybreak Daybreaks, you can tell it's a unique shoe. It's something that's a bit different from what they normally churn out for the Daybreaks. But the Air Force One Greys, I think, are a very cool looking shoe, and you could rock it either way. But still, there's that fly leather swoosh on the side, which I just don't feel that premium that they're expecting us to feel. And that's what keeps that in the number 2 slot for there, because the number 1 slot for me goes to the Air Max 95s. I think this is a very cool shoe. They've got everything right on it as far as I'm concerned. A beautiful layering effect horizontal across the Air Max 95, which is the signature of the shoe, and the different colours in there, which gives that contrast that I think was missing, for example, from the Cortez. Still, though, there's not, you know, the tongues on these guys have got a recycled technology going on there as well. And if you look at it, I think you'll see it on the Air Max 95s here that it kind of clashes with the rest of the shoe in terms of colour, but that's part of the recycled technology. But if you flip them upside down, you get a good look at the outsole as well, and that outsole is kind of a consistent look, I think, on the Air Force Ones, both pairs, the Air Max 90s and the Air Max 95s, although like I said, on the Daybreak's a bit different. I think the Cortezes I'm not sure about, but yeah, for me it's the Air Max 95s. Very cool looking shoe. It's a great initiative, you know, move to zero, trying to lessen our impact on the planet. Shoes take a lot of materials and energy to make, so it's great that Nike are making that effort to do that. And out of these 6 shoes, some of them are very, very nice, but my particular favourite, like I say, goes to that Air Max 95. Tell me in the comments down below which of these guys you would be after, and maybe even will be after when time comes on August 20th to actually dip into pockets and take these guys on and go for a pair if you want to. For now though, time for me to sign off. It's late at night as usual, 11:15 on Thursday night, and I'm towards the latter half of my 1-week summer holiday. So when I get this video away and sort of edited before I go to bed, so I don't have to worry about it tomorrow. So I'm going to go do that now. Thank you guys for checking out the content, and I'll say what I say at the end of every single one of my videos, which is that I do this every single day. So that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.